Welcome to UCLA. Please welcome the College Marshal for this evening's ceremony, Professor Michael Loftschi.
Good evening. It's my honor to welcome you to UCLA's Commencement weekend. This ceremony, the first of two centennial commencements marking the beginning of UCLA's 100th year, is devoted to honoring the students from the UCLA College of Letters and Science. My name is Michael Loftschi. I am an Associate Dean for Social Sciences and former chair of the Department of Political Science and a specialist in comparative politics. I am also College Marshal for this ceremony. While the students and the official party are assembling, let me take a moment to tell you about UCLA. I am proud to say that your graduate has attended one of America's finest universities. UCLA very proud. UCLA is a national and international leader in the breadth and quality of its academic research, healthcare, cultural, athletic, and continuing education programs. 7 UCLA alumni and 6 faculty have been awarded the Nobel Prize. In addition, UCLA has been the breeding ground of 17 MacArthur Foundation Fellows, 11 Rhodes Scholars, 3 Pulitzer Prize winners, 2 National Medal of Science recipients, 2 U.S. Poet Laureates, and 1 Turing Award winner. And every year, the accomplishments of our students continue to grow. If you are new to UCLA campus, you are in Pauley Pavilion, the home of the UCLA Bruins in men's and women's basketball and volleyball and women's gymnastics. UCLA has one of America's most successful intercollegiate sports programs. Bruin teams have won more than 118 national championships. In Pauley here, you can see the banners representing 47 championships won by men and women in 6 different sports, most recently UCLA softball national champions. In addition to our intercollegiate athletics programs, Pauley has hosted the 1984 Olympics, visits by President Bill Clinton and the Dalai Lama, the 1988 presidential debate between George H.W. Bush and Michael Dukakis, and other events. Other events that take place in Pauley include the new student welcome, Bruin Bash, Spring Sing, and numerous intramural and club sports team practices and competitions. After commencement concludes, I invite you to look around outside of Pauley Pavilion. You will find one of America's most beautiful and wonderful universities. In just a moment, the graduating class of the College of Letters and Science for 2019 will join us. After the students arrive, the official party will enter, including our esteemed faculty, campus executive leadership, UC regents, and our guest speakers. I want to offer you my congratulations. I know how proud you are of your graduate. The entire UCLA community shares your pride. Are we ready? Family and friends of our graduates, I present to you the graduating class of 2019 from UCLA's College of Letters and Science. Will the graduates all please be seated? Thank you. Will the graduates please be seated? Thank you. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, I know it may have seemed from time to time in the course of your university career that we are here to get in your way with grades and distribution requirements and even the occasional deafening silence when it comes to that PTE that you so urgently need. But I can assure you that tonight we are bursting with pride in your achievements, and we hope that the guests you have here with you tonight are similarly bursting with pride. Ladies and gentlemen, the official party. UCLA graduates. Welcome to your commencement ceremony. Singing the national anthem this evening are Esther Choi and Aaron Ravia. Esther is graduating today with a degree in biology, while Aaron is graduating with a degree in psychology. Please welcome Esther and Aaron.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Esther and Aaron. You may now be seated. Now I am pleased to introduce the Senior Dean of the College and Dean and Vice Provost of Undergraduate Education, Professor Patricia Turner.
Good evening, graduates. On behalf of the deans and faculty who join me on stage, I welcome you and your family to the commencement ceremony, the centennial commencement ceremony for the College of Letters and Science. I would like to thank Associate Dean and Professor of Political Science, Michael Lofschi, our College Marshal, for greeting our guests this evening. Graduates, this is a day to acknowledge your achievements and to celebrate the culmination of your undergraduate studies. You have met the highest challenges of education. You have been partners with faculty in our quest to learn and discover. You will be the next generation of leaders in your field. Now, when most of you entered UCLA, it was a highly ranked institution, but it was not the #1 ranked public university in the country. But as you graduate, it is. Put that together. What improved our ranking? I think it was your presence. I think they, like we, recognize that in the 100-year history of UCLA, you are the most accomplished, the most talented, the most cerebral, and the best-looking students to grace this esteemed graduate. Graduates, joining us here today are many special people who stood by you through your years at UCLA, your family and friends. I would like to ask the parents, the partners, the friends and family members of our graduates to stand, and graduates, you clap for them. Thank you. Now, I am pleased and honored to welcome the Chancellor of UCLA. In his 12 years as Chief Executive of the campus, he has worked to strengthen the university's academic excellence, build our campus diversity, and inspire a new level of civic engagement within UCLA. After you, he had something to do with that #1 ranking as well. Please welcome the Chancellor of UCLA, Jean Block.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Appreciative, appreciative. So to all of our friends, family, and guests that have come here this evening, I say welcome. It's great to have you here in Pauley. And to the class of 2019, congratulations. You're here, you're here. So as Vice Provost Turner said, this is a pretty special moment for UCLA as we celebrate our 100th anniversary. But it's really a special moment for you because it's the 100th anniversary of this institution, but it's your graduation year, and this will be forever important to UCLA. Your class will be forever important because it is the 100th year. Also, special, it really is. And also, we might as well enjoy it while we're here. We are #1 now in a couple of major rankings. Enjoy it. And I do think it says enormous amounts about our faculty, but also enormous amounts about our students. That's what a great university is about, bringing great faculty and outstanding students together. It becomes catalytic, and that's what's really recognized, the special environment we have here. So 100 years for most of you may seem like a long time, but it's not a long time in the life of a university. In fact, of the top-ranked universities in the world, we're usually the youngest. So most universities are older, and I think I remember Harvard, I think, is 383 years old. There's a little school up north, sister university, is I think 151 years old. So there really is, behave, it's your sister, behave, right? and it's a great university, so behave. But UCLA has achieved an extraordinary amount in relatively short amount of time. The journey began only in 1919, which is not that long ago, when the California governor signed the bill establishing the university. And the years that followed, it moved from Vermont Avenue to Westwood in 1929. And it has grown. Started with 4 buildings. Now we have added 213 additional buildings, and if you can find another place to build a building, there'll be a prize waiting for you. We are truly built up, but I think the campus serves us well. And life was admittedly different for students back then when the campus was first formed. Freshmen had to wear beanies, little hat beanies, and step out of the way for older students. I can assure you they didn't call the leader of the university at that time Jean, I can be sure. And there was paper registration for courses, paper and something called a pencil. And Westwood had an ice skating rink, oddly named Tropical Ice Garden, so they were a little off, right? They've gotten smarter. But there was no Diddy Reese, obviously, no Trader Joe's, and there wasn't UCLA like we know UCLA. In fact, when UCLA was first started, it wasn't called UCLA. It was called the Southern Branch of the University of California. Get that, Southern Branch. And do you know who changed, and that's terrible, right? Do you know who changed that? Who changed that terminology? Students, you, students, right? It's you who changed it. 1922, student newspaper, those days called the Cub Californian, which later would become Bruins from Cubs. It actually insisted that we call what was being called by the Office of the President and the Regents the Southern Branch. They thought that was unfair, and they proclaimed in the student newspaper that hereforth they'd be calling it the University of California at Los Angeles. That was students making that change. 5 years later, the Regents actually adopted the name, which of course now makes us quite famous. The name got shortened to UCLA, at least the nickname, and that's another story, a great story, how we went from University of California at Los Angeles, our official name still, to UCLA, which is what we use today, but that's a story for another time. But students have played an extraordinary role all along about changing the way that this university is more responsive in every imaginable way. So I would say there's something in this change of name that's really important, the fact that students really defined who we were. It really is, you should really don't let someone else define you. Don't let someone else's lack of imagination limit who you are, how you see yourself, what you aspire to be. You can really define your future, and I think the students demonstrated that they could even define the future of this institution by just having their voices heard. So take control, shape your own identity. That's really not a lesson just that you learn at this school. It's a life lesson, and I know all of you recognize that, and that's why you're so successful. So much of UCLA's history teaches us that this university has changed so much and now embodies the aspirations of so many more people and so many more groups. But there's still work to do. UCLA can always improve, and we have to work harder. We recognize our shortcomings, we try to be honest about them, we identify them, and there's always work to getting better. But now, in almost every way, this university has changed because of you, as I said, the students, faculty, staff, alumni. They all want to make UCLA better, and they've pushed us to be better. So we owe a debt to all of you who refuse to give up and make this a better place. And that has had huge, huge impact. Students have led to the creation of our ethnic studies centers, veteran support, undocumented, transfer parents, former foster youth, and other initiatives to expand academic opportunity. That it has broadened dramatically the bandwidth of this institution, and that's been you telling us that the bandwidth has to be broadened. I know you specifically, the class of 2019, also leaves your mark, and you've changed this campus. By being here, your actions have made us a better place. So my hope is, and you recognize this, that you'll move out into the world now with that same vision and courage, and in the communities that you form after you graduate, you'll continue to make those same changes. We all recognize, if you read the news, that everywhere there are challenges. Los Angeles has enormous problems right now with homelessness. Many people in the country, in the United States, are underemployed because we have to think more carefully about the way we're creating job opportunities and job training. Everywhere there's work to be done, and you really are gifted individuals who can make that difference, and I hope you recognize that, and you will in fact go on and really change the world. So there's another piece of UCLA history I want to mention, and it's about a building you know a lot about, Royce Hall. And Royce really symbolizes UCLA. We just projected the history of UCLA recently on the building, quite exciting. But I want to mention actually something about the person who the building's named after, Josiah Royce, who was an American philosopher at the turn of the 20th century. So Royce was known for championing a concept called the beloved community, which he described as a community capable of achieving the highest good as well as the common good. So he felt we all must work together to create this community, this beloved community. But another great thinker, Martin Luther King Jr., took up the same idea and made it central to his work. Dr. King stressed that the ultimate goal of the civil rights movement must be the creation of the beloved community. For Dr. King, that meant institutions committed to justice, it meant disagreements solved peacefully, and it meant people devoted not to selfish gain, but to each other's well-being. When Dr. King spoke at UCLA in 1965, just steps away from Royce Hall, he described the creation of a society where all people live together as siblings, where everyone will respect the dignity and worth of all human beings. Really powerful words of advice and belief that we all should internalize. And these really are bold ideas, but they're really ideas that are part of UCLA's history. Hopefully they've inspired many people here and will continue to inspire your dreams as you move forward. So when you pass Royce Hall or look back at photos of your time at UCLA and see the iconic building in the background, and it's quite a stunning building, let all the ideas of Dr. King and his colleagues inspire you And let what you've achieved here, let UCLA, drive your vision as we continue to drive our vision over the next 100 years. But beloved, communities just don't happen. They're made as the result of decisions we make every day. We recognize we really have the power to create a society that is much more just, much more concerned with one another, and much more helping of individuals in need. And we here in our community at UCLA, when you leave us, will be here to help you and stay connected. And I want to give a little call out to the UCLA Alumni Association. All of you, when you graduate, become members of the Alumni Association. Everywhere I visit in the world, the Alumni Association is present. People belong to chapters, they're engaged, they network with one another, they get the benefits of fellow Bruins who care about you. So it's an extended community that can be very helpful wherever you are in the US or the world. And I recommend that you stay connected because it'll help you and you'll help them and you'll help the university in this way. So UCLA's first chief executive, Ernst Carroll Moore, and this is 1929, that era, said of this brand new university, so this is someone who actually, the university is just at the very beginning, says we shall look with amazement upon its development, and for certain it will be greater, far greater than the imagination that any of us can foresee. So he recognized that in fact this university would be much more impactful, much greater than he could imagine. I doubt he could imagine today sitting here actually in Pauley Pavilion and see the number of students that we're educating, the quality of our students, the quality of our faculty. This had to just be a dream in the 1920s. So I know your future is going to be greater than even your accomplishments already. I wish you the best. You've accomplished a tremendous amount. Go out and change the world and go Bruins. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Block. The college deans and I are honored to acknowledge the students who graduate this evening with very special academic achievements. I would like to recognize the students who are graduating with one of the highest awards the College of Letters and Science can bestow to an undergraduate, the designation of College Honors. The extraordinary students who are graduating with College Honors have completed outstanding work in their major and also a special set of rigorous courses. Of the thousands of students who are graduating from UCLA this year, only 448 are receiving college honors. Will the students who are graduating with college honors this evening please stand? Thank you. Please be seated.
Graduates, I am Victoria Sork, Dean of Life Sciences. Your Dean. I'm pleased to recognize our many students who are involved in projects in the community. They accomplish this work through campus programs that bring together civic involvement with academic courses. Would all of the graduating seniors who served in the community please stand?
Good evening, graduates. I am Darnell Hunt, Dean of Social Sciences. All right. I am privileged to acknowledge the recipients of the 2019 Chancellor Service Award. The Chancellor Service Award is presented to students whose college careers have been distinguished by a dedication to UCLA and the community. These students, 218 of them this year, have earned this distinction through sustained record of outstanding leadership and service. Will the students who have been honored as recipients of the Chancellor Service Award please stand so we can recognize your superb commitment? Thank you. Please be seated.
Hello, graduates. I'm David Schaberg, Dean of Humanities. Thank you, thank you. I'd like to present our students who are receiving Latin honors, which is recognition for high academic achievement. There are 3 levels of Latin honors. First, I'd like to acknowledge students who've received cum laude honors. Please stand or raise your hand. Thank you, thank you. Please be seated. Next, I'd like to honor our students who are graduating magna cum laude. Please stand or raise your hand. Thank you. Please be seated. Finally, let's honor the students who are graduating with the highest Latin honors, summa cum laude. Please stand or raise your hand. Thank you. Please be seated.
Hello, graduates. I am Miguel Garcia Garibay, Dean of Physical Sciences. I would like to recognize students who have participated in research while at UCLA. As you know, UCLA is one of the world's great research universities. More than half of our graduates enhance their academic career by working alongside faculty on projects, writing honors theses, or participating in research classes. These students perform original work and advance the frontiers of knowledge. Would all the graduating seniors who have participated in research please stand so we can recognize your achievements? Congratulations. Please be seated.
Thank you, Dean Garcia Garibay. Graduates, you have excelled in everything you've put your mind to, from research to community service, from academic success to personal enrichment. You have spent your years at UCLA becoming well-rounded and ready to begin a new chapter. Your student speaker for this evening embodies many of your own successes. Ashraf Bashay, a biology major, was inspired to audition to be your student speaker because of his unique narrative. An asylum seeker, he was part of the Egyptian revolution, escaping threats to his family back home in Cairo. His parents, whom he hasn't seen in 5 years, are visiting UCLA tonight for the first time. Today is extra special for them, as Ashraf's sister is also here and graduating with a degree in biology. Ashraf was involved as an undergraduate student leader, holding offices with the Undergraduate Student Association Council, the Transfer Leadership Coalition, and the United Arab Society. He conducted research in cardiology under the mentorship of Dr. Tao Win. Ashraf will apply to medical school this summer and hopes to someday become a cardiothoracic surgeon. Please give a warm welcome to Ashraf.
Good evening, Chancellor Block, administrators, staff, workers, family, friends, parents, and the graduating class of 2019. I want to specifically thank my parents, Bechit Ramzi Bshay and Ibel Ibrahim, for their lifetime worth of sacrifice and for sharing this special moment with me as I graduate along my sister Heidi, who is sitting amongst us all tonight. It is my greatest honor to offer this class address on one of the most joyous days of our lives, a celebration of a journey full of growth, self-discovery, and perseverance. Today is even more special as we celebrate the completion of 100 years since the founding of UCLA in 1919. What was once a controversial and audacious experiment is now the world's premier public university. After all, it is UCLA that produced trailblazers in all fields imaginable. It was Arthur Ashe who became the first black man to win the US Open tennis tournament. And it was Jackie Robinson who, after over 60 years of racial segregation, became the first black player in the Major League Baseball. It was Ralph Bunche who helped found the United Nations and negotiated a ceasefire in the Arab-Israeli conflict in 1949, earning him a Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts. And the list goes on and on. If there's one thing UCLA alumni share, it is a commitment to a purpose greater than themselves. Because no matter who you are, if you work hard and have a sense of purpose, UCLA has a place for you. It is why, as a first-generation transfer, an international student, whose father started his life journey many thousands of miles away as a peddler on the streets of Egypt, I too felt at home here. Graduates, we've been through so much together. We have celebrated great victories, like claiming our rightful place as the #1 public university in the country. Like defeating our crosstown rivals in football to see the return of the victory belt to our campus. And now celebrating 100 years of history-making progress. At the same time, we have mourned some of the world's greatest tragedies resulting from hatred and bigotry. Perhaps I saw the strength of our Bruin spirit the most when we needed to be there for each other. Rooted in that solidarity that we held to one another is one promise to which we were always true. I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. It is a promise etched into our rich history and soulful existence, worthy of our preservation and transmission to our future children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. It is a promise that manifests into our social justice movements and strengthens our conviction that Black lives matter. That immigration is beautiful. That we are now standing on Native American land. That women's rights are human rights and equal labor deserves equal pay. And that the world is overarmed and peace is so sorely underfunded. It is those very basic human principles that must guide our engagement with a world so far from where it needs to be just. We must understand that our destinies are like threads, intertwined and similarly bound, and though we may come from over 100 different countries, though we may have different socioeconomic statuses and ethnic backgrounds, though we may pray to a different God, we share a unifying creed of binding love and an uncommon grace that lends to the everlasting pledge, I am not free until my brother is free. This is why we must make the betterment of society a core element of our pursuits. If you want to become an engineer, design buildings for low-income communities and combat gentrification. If you want to become a lawyer, defend the unjustly incarcerated, and seek to reform a broken policing system that criminalizes poverty. If you want to become a professor, teach your students to embrace their identities and empower their communities so that more people who look like you and me can pursue higher education. You see, we are not UCLA merely for our research, our groundbreaking innovations, or even our 118 NCAA championships. We are UCLA for the spirit of resilience embodied in all of these achievements. But at last, our time here comes to an end. We venture into a world so desperately in need of knowledge, but also compassion. We march forward audaciously, hand in hand, believing that our resolve can be the saving grace of the distraught planet, reaffirming our common commitment to a more fair and equitable world. And just like UCLA began as an experiment, so too will our journey. May we continue to redefine the pinnacle of success, just as UCLA has done for the past 100 years. Thank you, and congratulations to the Centennial Class of 2019.
Thank you, Ashraf. And I'd make two observations. One is Ashraf is everywhere. Every time I go to a Regents meeting, he's there speaking out for students. He's here. Everywhere on campus, I see him again speaking out for students. So we're so proud of what he has accomplished. I'll also point out about a third of our students graduating are transfer students. So this is really... So, thank you. Thank you for being here, and good luck. We know you're going to be successful. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Anna Lee Fisher, who's a distinguished three-time UCLA graduate, triple Bruin, a member of NASA's first astronaut class to include women, and the first mother in space. Incredible. So born in New York City, but raised right here in San Pedro, California, Dr. Fisher was among 5 women selected by NASA in 1978 to be the agency's first female astronauts. She flew in space when her daughter was just 14 months old. Incredible. In 1984, Dr. Fisher logged a total of 192 hours in space as a mission specialist on the Space Shuttle mission at a second flight of the Orbiter Discovery and the first space salvage mission. Actually, we were talking about that at dinner, actually capturing satellites that weren't working so they could be fixed and relaunched. So after a long and successful career with NASA, Dr. Fisher retired in 2017, very recently. You may have seen her also recently profiled in the Washington Post. If not, Google it. So please welcome distinguished triple Bruin astronaut and the first mother in space, Dr. Anna Lee Fisher.
Wow, what an amazing crowd. Good evening. It is an honor and my sincere privilege to be asked to be your commencement speaker today, especially as it is the first of UCLA's 2 centennial graduations, and because the university is also my alma mater. Thank you. Thank you, Chancellor Block, Professor Lachie, distinguished faculty, honored guests, and especially all of you, today's graduates, here with your family and friends. Today is your day. And what a special day it is. After all the hard work and effort leading up to this day, you are finally here. Tomorrow you can think about the next step in your journey, but for today, take time to celebrate your achievement and to celebrate and to thank your parents and friends for their love and support. Before I begin, I just want to share with you the advice I was given by my 2 daughters about speaking here today. Kristen, the daughter who was 14 months old when I flew on the space shuttle, is now a correspondent for Fox News. She said, "Make it short, Mom. Everyone wants to graduate and go celebrate." I may break that a little bit, but I will do my best. My younger daughter, Kara, who has her MBA and is in private wealth management in Dallas, said, "Use anecdotes to illustrate your points. Otherwise, it's just boring. Don't be boring." So I will do my best today to not be too long or too boring. So for you, parents and families, as you can see, even though I have 3 degrees, have been a doctor and an astronaut, and have flown in space, I am still just mom to them, and I have a typical parental relationship with them. Today marks the first of 2 centennial commencements. As you all can attest, UCLA is an amazing and rigorous university. As you just heard, the #1 public university in the United States. I am so glad I was accepted and completed my entire education here. When I was at UCLA from 1967 to 1977, it was actually around the time of UCLA's 50th anniversary. I think I'm dating myself by sharing that with you. I remember being in Reber Hall and climbing those steps every day as though it were yesterday. I always thought UCLA was a gorgeous campus, but today it is even more beautiful. The north side of campus looks very similar to when I was here, but the south campus has changed drastically, with many new buildings, a new hospital, and the old medical school and my old shortcut from the chemistry library, which no longer exists, to Westwood is vastly different. The pathways that were once asphalt now have beautiful pavers. The dorms, which were very basic and Spartan back then, are now, by my standards, very luxurious. You may not agree. The thing I remember most about my time as an undergraduate in the chemistry department is how, as a female, at a time when I was almost always the only one or one of 2 or 3 females in math, chemistry, and physics classes, I was not only accepted, but mentored and encouraged by my then mostly male professors. And that was in the late 60s and early 70s. UCLA has always been a special place. I am so grateful for the encouragement I received while I attended UCLA. The education I received in the company of so many brilliant students and professors, and the self-confidence I gained as I progressed through all the stages of my education, medical school, and internship, gave me the knowledge that I could succeed. And I have to tell you, nothing other than the actual launch of the shuttle and the risk involved was harder than my internship. At least NASA believes you need some sleep at night before you do a difficult job. When I graduated from UCLA, as you will today, I felt that I was on top of the world. I was already practicing emergency medicine in Los Angeles area for a year when I was selected by NASA. So I took a 75% pay cut. My annual salary when I was hired by NASA was only $30,000 a year. But you know what? I didn't think twice about it. I was so excited to be following my dream, forging my own path. While it wasn't always easy, that path to becoming an astronaut taught me many lessons along the way that I thought might also help you as you start out on this new adventure of life after graduation. But before going into that, I want to put in a quick shout out to all the chemistry majors out there. Yeah. When I met then Prime Minister Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher, one of my heroines, at 10 Downing Street for tea with my entire crew after our space flight, Ms. Thatcher said to me, "You know, Anna, we have something in common. I was a chemistry major too." And then I learned that the current Pope was also a chemistry major. You didn't know that either, did you? So just to be clear, with a chemistry degree, you could go on to do research and teach, but you might also become prime minister or president, an astronaut, or even the Pope. Just something to consider. Studying composition, structure, and properties of matter can lead to some big reactions. Okay, so now back to life's lessons. When I was young, I was extremely shy and nerdy. I loved science and math and reading, and had I actually known that public speaking was part of being an astronaut, I would have had to think long and hard about whether to apply. I am only partially joking when I say speaking in public has been more frightening to me than launching on the shuttle. When I was young, my father was in the military, and we moved a great deal. When I was 12 years old and we were stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, Alan Shepard became the first American to launch into space. I listened in awe over my teacher's transistor radio. If you don't know what that is, Google it. To Shepard's communication with mission control, and decided right then and there that I wanted to be an astronaut someday too. Now that did not seem like a very realistic goal because the job of astronaut had only recently been created, and all of the first astronauts were men and test pilots. At that time, women were not even allowed to join the military and fly fighter jets and go to test pilot school. But the seed was planted and continued to be something I thought about. When my family moved to San Pedro, where my father retired from the Army, go Pedro Pirates, I was in 8th grade, which was my 13th school. We were not very well off financially, and I had 3 brothers, so my family did not have the resources or know-how to send me to college. But I knew that getting a college education was the key to the future I wanted. Neither of my parents went to college. My father got his GED after joining the Army at age 17, and my mom was from Germany and had the equivalent of an 8th grade education. So like many of you, I was the first in my family to graduate from college. Thank you. Thank you. But my parents were very supportive and never tried to discourage me. They also did not know much about how to advise me, but with their help in filling out applications, I received financial aid, scholarships, and eventually student loans, as I'm sure many of you have had to do as well. I went on to major in chemistry and received 2 NSF undergraduate summer research fellowships. I found I really enjoyed doing research, but was not fond of all the time spent writing research proposals to get funding in order to do research. I decided to combine my love of science and working with people and applied to medical school. I also thought in the back of my mind that even if I was born too soon to become an astronaut, maybe I could be a doctor on a space station someday. So you see, I had not totally given up on my childhood dream. I made my decision to apply to medical school, and I was not accepted the first time, but was placed on the waiting list. Although I was disappointed, instead I went to graduate school and eventually received my master's degree in chemistry. At the time, it appeared to be a setback. This actually turned out to be a good thing, because wouldn't you know it, the second chemistry degree turned out to be instrumental in my selection as an astronaut. As I stand here looking at all of you, I remember sitting exactly where you are now sitting, feeling much as you probably feel, excited, scared, happy, uncertain, never imagining as I studied so hard for chemistry and physics exams that it would lead to where I am today and the amazing experiences I have been so fortunate to have. I went on to medical school after applying a second time and being accepted. I found out totally by chance from a friend and fellow space nerd in my medical school class that NASA was looking for both pilot and mission specialist astronauts for the new space shuttle program. About 6 weeks after submitting my application, I was interviewing in Houston, And a few months later, in January of 1978, I found myself among the 35 newly selected astronauts selected specifically for the Space Shuttle program. It was the largest, most diverse class NASA had ever selected. 15 pilots and 20 mission specialists, or scientist astronauts, and the first 6 women ever selected for the US space program. Thank you. Thank you. It was an incredible feeling. I was assigned to my flight just 2 weeks before I delivered my first daughter, Kristen. So I was a new mom and training for my first space flight all at the same time. It was a challenging year, to say the least, but I was doing the 2 things I loved most. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about my flight or the rest of my career, because you can go online and read about all of that if you are interested. But I flew in November of 1984 on an historic flight that was the first to bring hardware back from space, 2 huge multi-million-dollar communication satellites, as Chancellor Block mentioned. It was an amazing flight with wonderful crewmates, and as was mentioned, I became the first mom to fly in space. I did not consider it a big deal, as most of my male colleagues had children as well. But of course, my daughter says I owe it all to her. I was assigned to my second flight about a month after we landed, and when the Challenger accident happened, I was about 6 weeks away from my second flight. We knew it would be at least 2 to 3 years before we flew again, and I was already 37. I worked to help get the shuttle program back on track, but then we decided we wanted to have one more child. After my second child, daughter, Kara, was born, I wound up taking a 7-year leave of absence, which was a very hard decision. And then returning to the astronaut office in 1996 was the second hardest thing I ever did, the first being leaving Kristen to launch in space. I was asked to serve as chief of the space station branch in the astronaut office and lead the office as NASA, together with our international partners, started to collaborate to build and operate the International Space Station. I was in line to fly again when the Columbia accident happened, so I guess I either have really good or really bad timing. I was disappointed to not fly again, but I also realized how lucky I was. To date, only around 570 out of the 20 billion who have lived on this planet since human existence began have ever flown in space. And to be a part of that small number is a truly humbling experience. I share all of this, thank you, so that you know that I understand both the highs and the lows of life. Sometimes when you read or hear about a person who appears to be successful, it sounds as though it was smooth sailing the entire time. I've had many missteps and disappointments along the way, and inevitably, you will as well. Learn from those experiences and use that newfound knowledge to continue to pursue your dreams. With that in mind, allow me to share a checklist reminder for life that you might find helpful as you enter this next exciting phase. In the astronaut world, we have checklists for everything we do on board the shuttle or any spacecraft, even for going to the bathroom. A checklist is a collection of procedures. Sometimes the procedures are very detailed, listing every single thing you need to do to activate a system or deploy a satellite or whatever your task is. Other times, the procedure is more of a cue card, a memory jogger, to remind you of the steps or things to consider. When you are in the middle of something difficult, that is not the time to be figuring out what to do. Plan ahead and have contingency plans just in case. Then in the moment of a crisis or a difficult task, you just have to execute the procedure. So in no particular order, here are a few of the lessons I have learned to perhaps add to your checklist for life. Number 1, be who you want to be and live the life you want to live. Jim Carrey once famously said in a commencement speech, "You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance at what you love." I agree. I am happy I had the courage to become an astronaut rather than staying in a career where success was pretty much assured. At the time I accepted NASA's offer, the shuttle had not even flown yet, so it was a big risk to leave a career I loved and worked hard for. So I'm extremely grateful that I had the courage to follow my heart, and I also to take a leave of absence to stay home with my girls while they were young. I have never regretted taking that time. You have to decide what is best for you, not what you think you are expected to do, or what others think you should do, or what your parents or other significant people in your life think you should do. It is your life, and you have to follow your inner voice. Number 2, find that which you are passionate about, and your life will be rich and rewarding. Neither of my daughters wanted their father or I to read their college application essays. I tried not to get my feelings hurt, but also understood that they were afraid we might try to change what they had to say. Years later, when I read my oldest daughter's essay, she was right. I would have tried to convince her that the topic of going to the bathroom in the middle of the night while camping out on a glacier on an old summer expedition was not appropriate. But obviously it worked. Again, much later, I found a copy of my younger daughter's essay, and it brought tears to my eyes. She said she was not yet sure what she wanted to study, but she wanted to find something that she was as passionate about as her mother was about her career in space. She then described the ritual that I went through with them every shuttle launch, except mine and their father's. I made them watch every shuttle launch, day or night, and as the main engines ignited and I watched my friends launch into space, I started cheering loudly, gave a thumbs up, and yelled Godspeed. My daughters would look at each other and smile in embarrassment, glad that none of their friends were around, but obviously they got the message. Number 3, life is not fair. It just isn't. I am reminded of that all the time as I travel around the world. There are so many places in the world where people do not have even remotely what we have here. Despite all the problems we face in the United States, we are still blessed to have all that we have: freedom, a booming economy, an opportunity to get an education, no matter what socioeconomic environment you come from. You have to deal with the hand you were dealt. You can either choose to go for the life you want, despite the hardships you face, or you can use the hand you were dealt as an excuse, but it is your choice. Number 4, unfortunately, in life, unlike Gene Kranz's famous line regarding Apollo 13, failure is an option, and all of you, as I have, will encounter failure or disappointment sometime in your life. It is how you respond that matters. And as many have said before me, you often learn more from your failures than your successes. Use that knowledge to create success. Number 5, always have a backup plan. At NASA, we always have backup plans and backup plans for the backup plans. A corollary to having a backup plan is to always be prepared, whether for a test, a new job, becoming a parent, whatever big things in life you need to succeed at. As the legendary UCLA basketball coach John Wooden said, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. UCLA and NASA taught me to always be prepared. Number 6, don't give up. Be persistent if you really want something. Some astronauts applied to NASA 6 or 7 times before they were accepted. And sometimes you have to change your goals somewhat. For example, to become a flight controller rather than an astronaut because you had a disqualifying medical problem, but you are still following your love of space exploration. Number 7, enjoy the journey. Do not be so focused on the destination or that future goal that you miss all the simple pleasures of life. Number 8, as the saying goes, the only sure thing in life is death and taxes. But to that I would add one more, and that is change. Life is full of changes. Just when you get comfortable with where you are, things change. Be adaptable and flexible because you will need to be. Sometimes you are prepared and get a chance to say goodbye, like when you leave to move to a new home, or like now, leaving UCLA for your next endeavor. But sometimes it's only in looking back that you realize that you did not know you were saying goodbye. For example, when both of my daughters got their driver's licenses, I did not know that was the last time I would ever see them. Number 9, while you are young, do not be afraid to take risks. When you are older and have a family or other obligations, it's a lot harder to take a risk that could negatively impact others. Number 10, should you find yourself on the wrong path or just one that doesn't fit, do not be afraid to change directions. You only get one life, so be sure it is the life you want. Number 11, thank your parents and all those who help you throughout your life. We do not succeed alone. Thank you. I guilt my daughters all the time. Number 12, don't be afraid of growing old. I never expected to have so much fun or to be doing so many different things as I turn 70 later this year. I am working harder and traveling more in retirement than I ever expected. I am even learning to golf. Each stage of life is fun and exciting, which was something I had not expected, but I have embraced. Please know there is a lot of life left at 70, 80, and even 90. So, 13, and my next to last item for your checklist, because I could not end on the number 13, is that we are all astronauts in the spaceship Earth. With the advent of space tourism with Virgin Galactic and SpaceX and Blue Origin, I am hopeful that as more people get to see the Earth from the same vantage point that astronauts have been privileged to see, more people will realize how we are all more alike than we are different, and that we are all citizens of this beautiful spaceship Earth. Let's all take care of our ship and each other, just as Space Shuttle and Space Station crews do. Number 14, and last but not least, be kind to one another. Respect others' views, even if they are very different than your own. Especially in a university, all views should be listened to and debated, not censored. In the end, despite political differences, cultural differences, socioeconomic differences, we are all human beings with many of the same feelings, fears, desires, and challenges. So be kind and respectful to one another. Thank you. Thank you. Know that this checklist is not exhaustive. There are times when there's no procedure for the situation you are facing, and you have to figure things out yourself. Using your skills and experience and what you have learned during your time here at UCLA, you will find a way. I will end by saying the following. My life has not been perfect, as it may appear to some from the outside. I have shared some disappointments with you. Others I have not, because you need to graduate today, and it would take a long time to go through all of them. But here's the point. When I look back, I would make the same decisions again, even the bad ones, because they resulted in where I am today. Even the painful experiences, though not fun to go through, make me a tougher, more resilient person who was better prepared for whatever lay ahead. So with that, I want to wish you good luck as you start on the amazing journey ahead of you. UCLA, UCLA emboldened me to follow my dreams and gave me the confidence I needed to succeed. I hope that today you feel the same sense of boldness and optimism. As a graduate of UCLA, you can indeed accomplish what you set out to do. You can aim for the stars. Congratulations. I wish you Godspeed, and go Bruins. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Fisher. I think all of Bruins are really glad you decided to major in chemistry, to reapply to medical school that second time, to take a 75% pay cut to become an astronaut, and to follow your gut when you decided to stay home with your daughters. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Now, it is my honor to present the candidates for the conferral of the degrees. Graduates, this is it. I will call on the deans of the college to present the bachelor's candidates to Chancellor Block. The regents have delegated the authority to bestow degrees upon the chancellor. As he does everything else, he takes this very seriously. So it is now up to the deans to present and promote the students who are eligible. The Division of Physical Sciences will be presented by Dean Miguel Garcia-Garabi. Dean Garcia-Garabi, can you speak to the strengths of the students in physical sciences?
I certainly can, Pat. It will be my honor. I will challenge the physical sciences majors to make a lot of noise when you hear the name of your major. So, will the candidates for the degrees of Bachelors of Science and Bachelors of Arts in the Division of Physical Sciences please raise and remain standing? All of you. Ladies and gentlemen, the great challenges of our time, deep questions about the nature of our universe, about our origins, and above all, about our future in the world in which we live, are grounded in the physical sciences. For instance, climate change lies in the domain of our students in atmospheric and oceanic sciences, Earth, planetary, and space sciences, and the Institute of Environment and Sustainability. The discovery of compounds that cure disease and that lead to the sustainable generation of energy will be the work of our graduates in chemistry and biochemistry. The investigation into the structure and deep history of our universe, as well as the possibility of other life in the cosmos, will be pioneered by our physics and astronomy graduates. Our graduates in mathematics and statistics will pioneer the mastery of the flood of data that we must now process in order to understand and manage an ever more complex world. All of these and more will be addressed by you, our graduates in atmospheric and oceanic sciences, Earth, planetary, and space sciences, statistics, environmental science, physics and astronomy, mathematics, chemistry and biochemistry. Physical sciences graduates, You all live here with a deep fund of knowledge in the sciences underlying what we know about our world. You also carry with you finely honed skills in reasoning and analysis that will equip you to overcome the most daunting intellectual challenges that will be thrown your way. You are the cream of the crop. You have mastered the hard sciences. Chancellor Block, it is my honor to present to you the dedicated, inquisitive, analytical, gifted, and altogether stellar candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Arts from the Division of Physical Sciences.
Thank you, Dean Garcia-Garaby. Candidates for the bachelor's degree from the physical sciences, please be seated. Presenting the candidates for the bachelor's degree in the Division of Humanities is Dean David Skaberg. Dean Skaberg, are you proud of your students?
I'm extremely proud, Pat. Would the candidates for the Bachelor of Arts degree in the Division of Humanities please rise and remain standing? Yeah. Excellent. A little bit of noise, a little bit more noise than the candidates in physical sciences, if you please. Yeah. Good. Now, when I look out at the graduates in the humanities, I reflect that the greatest public research university in the land educates experts and seekers of knowledge of many kinds. And then among these, since UCLA's founding 100 years ago, there have always been the experts in humankind, the young people who felt called to study the human legacy itself, the thought and languages and literatures and arts that define our personal and social lives. Humanities graduates, what have you learned here and what will you take with you from UCLA to teach others? Well, you are seekers of the truth and exacting caretakers of the truth. You're graduates in philosophy. You're scholars of language itself as a human faculty and as a medium of communication. You're linguists. Yeah. You're keen observers of the image and of its uses. You're art historians. You're independent-minded readers of all the cultures and all the literatures of the world. Literatures in English. Asian languages and cultures. Yeah, Near Eastern languages and cultures, comparative literature, classics, Spanish and Portuguese, French and Francophone, Italian, Slavic, East European, and Eurasian languages and cultures, Germanic, and Scandinavian. And many of you have done minors in digital humanities, in the study of religion, and in LGBTQ studies. Let's give all of you a hand. Now, I hope that you've completed the coursework for your degrees with joy and with a real love of humanity. But I know that you're also aware of the very practical and very considerable powers you've acquired. You are highly trained and skilled writers and speakers. You're readers and translators and interpreters of complex human situations. You're living encyclopedias of culture and spokespeople for the values held dear by all human beings. And you're critics, creators, free thinkers, fighters for justice, and continually self-improving learners. Everything you touch will turn human. These are the powers that any workplace needs and the powers that our society needs. Chancellor Block, I present to you the eloquent, cultured, thoughtful, resourceful, passionately humane candidates for the degree of the Bachelor of Arts from the Division of Humanities.
Thank you, Dean Skaberg. Candidates for the bachelor's degree from the humanities, please be seated. Presenting the candidates for the bachelor's degree in the Division of Life Sciences is Dean Victoria Sork. Dean Sork, can you speak to the attributes of your students?
And will any of the other graduates of life sciences who haven't stood please join the rest of us? That's what I like about you. You're always ready to go before the instructions. But please remain standing. You know, today is our 100th anniversary, and not all of it has been on this location, but I want to acknowledge that 10,000 years, Native American peoples have lived in relationship to the land of California. And we want to acknowledge the Tongva, who have lived here for thousands of years as well. Puts things into context, doesn't it? You, our graduating students, have come into life sciences at an exciting time. Life sciences includes all of the subdisciplines within biology and within psychology. When UCLA was founded 100 years ago, the disciplines of biology and psychology were very different than what you learned in your classes over the last years. Now you can purchase your genome for $100 from 23andMe or Ancestry.com. Did any of you get one from your father for Father's Day? They've been promoting it. In 1919, biologists may have understood Darwinian theory of natural selection, but they didn't realize that genes were the way that it was transmitted. Today, biologists are integrating principles of genetics, physiology, immunology, evolution to develop cures and preventions for diseases like cancer, diabetes, HIV, and influenza. In 1919, many of these diseases weren't even identified, much less figured out how we could work towards a cure. Now, ecologists and evolutionary biologists are trying to figure out how we're going to preserve biodiversity and allow organisms to survive habitat destruction and climate change. In 1919, they were only starting to think about how industrial pollution was changing our landscapes. Now psychologists are integrating knowledge of the mind, the body, and their biological interconnectedness to treat brain health problems such as ADHD, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, and post-traumatic stress. In 1919, World War I victims of trauma were considered malingers, not understanding stress. And this was long before we had penicillin that would help cure the infections from being in battle. So much has happened. But in the life sciences, we have many, many majors, many opportunities to work and develop the expertise to develop these, to address these problems and more. So we have more than a dozen majors, starting with the growing major of computational and systems biology, ecology, behavior, and evolution, marine biology, not so many of those majors tonight, but there are more of them, human biology and society, one of our new and another growing major, cognitive science, microbiology, immunology, and molecular genetics. Parents, we don't just name majors, we describe them. Molecular cell and developmental biology, physiology, neuroscience, Psychobiology. Biology. And of course, one of the largest majors on campus, psychology. So as UCLA embarks on the next 100 years of educating our future leaders, society will continue to need people like you to become doctors, teachers, research scientists, therapists, entrepreneurs, and other leaders in the life science fields to make the world a better and healthier place for everyone. What am I going to say next? Chancellor Block, I'm honored to present to you the psychologically well-adjusted, biologically sound, neurologically well-connected, ecologically sensitive, evolutionarily complex, immunologically resistant. Please take your immune shots. Okay. Molecularly based, physiologically well integrated, developmentally sophisticated, computationally advanced, absolutely awesome, and in fact, more absolutely awesome than any other class and any other social scientists. For the degrees of Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Arts in the amazing division of Life Sciences.
Thank you, Dean Sork. Candidates for the bachelor's degree from the Life Sciences, please be seated. Presenting the candidates for the bachelor's degree in the Division of Social Sciences is Dean Darnell Hunt. Dean Hunt, are your students worthy?
Absolutely. Well, it seems as if the life sciences have thrown down the gauntlet. Okay, so here we go. So I want to hear some noise here. Okay, for the candidates for the Bachelor of Science and Bachelors of Arts in the Division of Social Sciences, please remain standing throughout. Today, more than ever, we need you, our graduates in the social sciences, to understand the economic, political, and social conditions that will support private businesses and public institutions that create jobs, support the arts, support scientific research, and improve K-12 education. Today, more than ever, we need you to study the roots of social and cultural conflicts in order to avoid wars. Today, more than ever, we need you to isolate the causes of inequality in order to eradicate poverty and foster a more just society. Today, more than ever, we need you to communicate across cultures and communities to forge enduring partnerships with people different from yourselves, whether from different neighborhoods, different cities, different states, or different nations. In short, your education at UCLA in departments that are among the best in the world has prepared you to be active agents in the construction of a better society. UCLA graduated its first four-year class in 1925, when the campus was still located across town on Vermont Avenue. In that same year, the College of Letters and Science was established, along with two social science programs, economics and political science. We've come a long way, Bruins. Today, as UCLA celebrates its centennial year, the campus boasts 15 outstanding degree programs in the social sciences. These programs include aerospace, military science, and naval science, American Indian Studies, African American Studies, Asian American Studies, Gender Studies, Chicana and Chicano Studies, Geography, Communication, History, Anthropology, Sociology, and of course, Political Science, and Economics. Chancellor Block, I am honored to present to you the most socially engaged, research savvy, service-oriented, culturally creative, interactionally skillful, intersubjectively attuned, around-the-clock inspired and inspiring, multilingual, multicultural, multi-everything you could ever think of. The candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Science and Bachelors of Art from the great, unique, awesome, breathtaking, tremendous, splendid, impressive, and superb UCLA Division of Social Sciences.
Thank you, Dean Hunt. Candidates for the bachelor's degree from the Division of Social Sciences, please be seated. The candidates for the bachelor's degree have now been presented. I call on Chancellor Block to confer the degrees of Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Arts on the Centennial Class of 2019. Will all of the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Arts please stand and remain standing?
So, I have a dilemma. The deans have made a spectacularly strong case that you are extraordinary young people. Now, if this were a company, why would I let our best employees leave? This makes no sense. The success of this institution is keep the best people around. On the other hand, we're full. We got another group of extraordinary students coming next year. So even though I would like to keep the very best students here to continue to contribute, and some of you will, because I know some of you will go to graduate school here, I think the case has been made that it's time for you to graduate. So now, by the virtue of the authority vested in me by the Regents of the University of California, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science. Congratulations.
Graduates, we have one final tradition to observe, but before that, let me congratulate all of us on becoming the newest alumni of UCLA as the class of 2019. And now, on to our final tradition. Before we received our degrees, we wore our tassels on the right side of our mortarboards. Now that our degrees have been conferred, it is time to move the tassel to the left and join the select company of UCLA graduates, bachelor's Turn your tassels.
To close commencement, please join in singing the alma mater, Hail to the Hills of Westwood, performed by Sophia Inaba, Chan Kim, Courtney Scott, and Naosuke Yamaguchi. The words are printed on the back of your program.
Hail to the hills of Westwood, to the mighty sea below. Hail to our alma mater, she will conquer every foe. For we're loyal to the Southland, her honor will uphold. We'll gladly give our hearts to thee, to the blue and to the gold.
Thank you, Sophia, Chan, Courtney, Naosuke, and to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Best wishes to the Centennial Class of 2019. Congratulations.